Hi everyone, my name is Jen Jacobs and I am a freelance director and teaching artist here in the DMV. I'm excited to share with you some helpful tips and tricks for your submissions to this year's high school playwriting competition at Mosaic Theater Company. So you have a story you want to tell and you've decided you want to make it into a play but have no idea where to start? Hopefully this video can help. I feel like the first question we have to ask ourselves is, what exactly is a play? If you do a quick Google search, most of what you will find says that a play is a literary work designed to be performed in a theater in front of an audience. While I agree that plays are meant to be read out loud and in front of people, I think that it is not the most important part of a play when it comes to thinking about it from a playwright's perspective. The key elements of a play are actually similar to other forms of writing: plot, character, and theme. Let's start by talking about theme. Theme is the most important idea of your play, the message you want audiences to take away by the end. It is the reason you decided to write a play in the first place. Your answer to the question, why must this story be told? I actually recommend writing down the answer to that question. It is a great thing to come back to when you're stuck during the writing process. Let's look at an example. Take Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. A theme of Romeo and Juliet might be family feuds, if not resolved, have deadly consequences. Throughout this play, countless young people die just because two families have decided to hate each other. All the way to the very end, the two main characters are so concerned about their family's feud that they're willing to fake their own deaths, which leads to their actual deaths, just to be together despite their family names. As we can see in this example, the theme, the big idea, is clear throughout the play and becomes especially important by the end. Our theme impacts every aspect of our play, but especially the plot. The plot is the series of events that happen during your play. This often is divided into a beginning, middle, and end. The beginning introduces us to characters, setting, and any events that may have happened before the play starts. The middle is usually where we see more conflict, moments of tension, that are all leading up to the climax, which is the biggest moment of conflict in the whole play. Then, in the end, there is some sort of resolution where many of the problems that happen throughout the play are solved. So the basic idea of plot is that something happens, usually to do with your theme, that affects everything else in the play, and this concept repeats and repeats until the biggest, most dramatic event occurs and there's no going back, but the characters do their best to try and solve the problems. The last part of writing a play is creating characters. Characters are the ones that actually speak your story out loud. But it's not just what they say that's important, it's also their identities and relationships that give the audience key details about your story. Let's break down these different elements of character. Identity, similar to real life, is how characters present themselves and how they are perceived both by the audience and by the other characters in the play. Identity includes details like ethnicity, what they do for work, where they're from, how old they are, how they dress, and more. Next, we have characters' relationships. How does each character relate to the other characters in the play? What do they all think of each other? The best way to share information on both the characters' identities and relationships is through dialogue, the words they speak. Do they talk a lot? Do they only use single words? Do they only talk to certain characters? Do they often mispronounce words? Do they speak in a different language? These are all things that you get to decide as the playwright. Characters are the tools you are given as a playwright to make your theme clear. Maybe there's a character that usually talks a lot, but when they get nervous or are around their parents, they speak very little. This detail tells us a lot about your story. Maybe this is because the character's parents are very strict, and maybe the theme of your play is that strict parenting makes it hard for kids to grow. And perhaps part of your plot is that this character auditions for the school play and gets the lead, but is too afraid to tell their parents and therefore isn't allowed to participate. That right there is a play. It's got theme, character, and plot. I also want to note that while characters are most often people, you're not limited to that. I've been in a play once where I played an old goat. While what we've discussed is very technical, I do also want to add that playwriting is very flexible. If you want to write a tale about a popcorn kernel starting a revolution against microwaves, that can be a play. If you want to share a family story that's been passed down from generation to generation, that can be a play. Playwriting is an opportunity to creatively share your stories, to explore topics that interest you, to live out your silly ideas with the freedom to express them in whatever way you want. So now that we know what a play is, how do we get started writing one? There are many ways you can write a play, and none of them are wrong as long as you are putting words to the page. You can create an outline, deciding what will happen in the beginning, middle, and end, or simply dive in. You could write scenes out of order and figure out a way to bridge them together later. You can write scenes with no character names and just get the ideas down and figure out those details later. Whatever works best for you. But if you're having trouble, here are 2 exercises I use when I'm stuck trying to write. If you're having trouble thinking of an idea to base your play around, I go back to the basics: person, place, and thing. Grab a couple scraps of paper, at least 9. Take 3 of those pieces of paper, and on each write a name, a profession, and an age. So you'll have 3 pieces of paper, each with a name, age, and profession. For example, Sally, 39, antique store owner. Set those aside, then grab 3 more pieces of paper. On those next 3, write random places. The more specific, the better. For example, gas station vending machine. Set those aside and take your remaining 3 pieces of paper and write an object on each. Feel free to make as many as you want for each of the 3 piles. Once you have enough in each, fold them and pick one from each pile at random. Now you must write at least 2 pages of a play that include that character, place, and object. The next step is to pick another paper from the character pile and find a way to incorporate that new character into your play. This next exercise I use if I have an idea, but I'm having trouble getting myself to write. Grab paper and a pen, or a laptop, and set a timer for 10 minutes. You must write non-stop for the entire duration of the timer. Don't go back, don't make any edits, just keep going. Allow yourself grace for the writing to be incoherent. The goal is just to keep pen to paper or fingers to laptop for the entire duration of the timer, judgment-free. Once you reach the end, then you can go back and sift through your writing to see what inspiration struck or to edit any usable material. Lastly, if you're totally unsure of where to start, go to the library and pick up a play. Reading plays is really helpful for writing them. A few I'd recommend: John Proctor's The Villain by Kimberly Bellflower, Everybody by Brandon Jacob Jenkins, A Doll's House by Henrik Ibsen. I'm also a fan of Most Anything by Sarah Ruhl. I hope this discussion was helpful for you in your playwriting journey. Your stories matter. People want to hear them, and I can't wait to see what you all come up with.